Hey guys, Jim here. Welcome to another OBGYN Sonography Registry review. Let's dive into this thing. Question 1. Which of the following would be elevated in this fetus? A. AFP, B. HCG, C. UE3, or D. Inhibin B? The answer is B. HCG. This ultrasound represents a fetus with an absent nasal bone. Question 2. Pentalogy of Cantrell will have how many anomalies? A4, B3, C5, or D7? The answer is C5. Question number 3. What will be elevated with this ultrasound? A. UE3, B. HCG, C. MSAFP, or D. Inhibin A? The answer is C. MSAFP, and this ultrasound represents a fetus with fetal demise. Remember that MSAFP and AFP are the same thing. AFP is simply a protein that's released by the liver. MSAFP is a lab test used to detect AFP. Question 4. Which is associated with severe bowing of the long bones? A. Campomelic dysplasia, B. Osteogenesis type 2, C. Congenital hypophosphatasia, or D. Achondrogenesis? The answer is A. Campomelic dysplasia. Question number 5. Which is used to help identify the fetal right ventricle? A. Find the right atrium, B. Smooth RV myocardium, C. RV is larger than the LV, or D. Moderator band? The answer is D. Moderator band. Question 6. Which of the following will be elevated with this finding? A. Inhibin A, B. UE3, C. AFP, or D. HCG? The answer is C. AFP, and this ultrasound represents a fetus with spina bifida. Question number 7. What is the first trimester problem associated with anencephaly? A. The upper brain portions are no longer present. B. Severe oligohydramnios. C. Neural tube fails to close while brain is in direct contact with amniotic fluid. Or D. Severe polyhydramnios. The answer is C. Neural tube fails to close while brain is in direct contact with amniotic fluid. Also, another problem that will arise is spina bifida. Question number 8. What would the umbilical artery Doppler waveform look like with IUGR? A. Presence of diastolic flow above the baseline. B. Absence of diastolic flow reversal. C. Appearance of a notch. Or D. Triphasic low resistance in second and third trimester. The answer is C. Appearance of a notch. Question number 9. What would the ductus venosus Doppler waveform look like with IUGR? A. Low resistance diastolic flow above the baseline. B. Systolic to diastolic ratio will be less than 2. C. Reversed A wave. Or D. Presence of an A wave above the baseline. The answer is C. Reversed A wave. Question number 10. How many yolk sacs will you have with monochorionic diamnionic triplets? A3, B4, C1, or D2? The answer is D, 2. Question number 11. Which is associated with a trident hand? A. Syndactyly, B. Polydactyly, C. Arthrogryposis, or D. Achondroplasia? The answer is D. Achondroplasia. Question number 12. Drag and drop the letter X on the right ventricle. So where would you put this X on your image? Remember from the previous question, how do you locate the right ventricle? The answer is right here. Let me put this back here for a second. You can see the prominent moderator band here, which is a thicker myocardium. So we'll just put this X right there. That's the right ventricle. Question 13. What position is this patient in? A. Cathalic with back down. B. Breech with back up. C. Cathalic with back up. Or D. Breech with back down. The answer is A. Cathalic with back down. Question 14. Which is the best way to scan a cyst in an obese patient? A. transabdominal ultrasound low frequency, B, transvaginal ultrasound high frequency, C, transabdominal ultrasound high frequency, or D, make sure the patient has a full bladder. The answer is B, transvaginal ultrasound with high frequency. Question 15. Which of the following is a herniation at the base of the umbilical cord? A, congenital hernia, B, gastroschisis, C, omphalocele, or D, exomphalos? The answer is A, congenital hernia. Question 16. What will maternal hyperthyroidism do to the fetus? A, diabetes, B, oligohydramnios, C, increased nuchal thickening, or D, goiter? The answer is D, goiter. Question 17. Which of the following will be elevated with this finding? A, inhibin A, B, UE3, C, MSAFP, or D, HCG? This is a fetus with gastroschisis, and this will cause a rise of AFP, so your MSAFP will be elevated. Remember, MSAFP and AFP are the same thing. MSAFP is just the lab test, and AFP is the elevated enzymes in the body. If you have both MSAFP and AFP as an option, then you really have to read the question carefully. If it's mentioning what enzyme is elevated, then your AFP is the correct answer. If they're asking what test will be elevated, then MSAFP is the correct answer. Question 18. In this image of the kidney, what is the arrow pointing to? A, polycystic kidney, B, neuroblastoma, C, multicystic kidney, or D, hepatoblastoma? The answer is B, neuroblastoma. Question 19. What does power Doppler show? A, color Doppler, B, peak velocity, C, blood flow, or D, mean velocity? The answer is C, blood flow. Question 20. Which is associated with severe micromelea? A, thanatophoric dysplasia, B, achondrogenesis, C, congenital hypophosphatasia, or D, all of the above? The answer is D, all of the above. Question 21. When performing a transabdominal examination, which way do you angle the probe for the transverse antiverted uterus? A, medial, B, lateral, C, cranial, or D, caudal? The answer is C, cranial. Question 22. What will be elevated as a result of this finding? A, AFP, B, inhibin A, C, UE3, or D, HCG? The answer is B, inhibin A, and this ultrasound represents an ovarian tumor. Anytime you have tumors growing, you will have elevated inhibin A and or inhibin B. Question 23. Click on the area that is associated with elevated HCG. The answer is right here with the increased nuchal thickening. Question 24. Which of the following is elevated in the fetus with an absent nasal bone, and choose two? MSAFP, HCG, UE3, inhibin A. The answers are HCG and inhibin A. Question 25. In this image of the kidney, what is the arrow pointing to? A, polycystic kidney, B, multicystic kidney, C, neuroblastoma, or D, hepatoblastoma? The answer is C, neuroblastoma. Question 26. As you're scanning a patient's ovaries, you measure a 25 millimeter size cyst. What day is the patient's menstrual cycle? A, 16 to 18, B, 13 to 15, C, 10 to 12, or D, 6 to 9? The answer is A, 16 to 18. And that concludes all the questions for this test. I'll hurry and write 25 more questions and upload that video as fast as I can. If any of you have any questions about your upcoming OBGYN boards, feel free to email me at ultrasoundboardreview@gmail.com. or you can personally text or call at 435-922-1635. I'm Jim with ultrasoundboardreview.com. We'll see you next time.